A little more about the process. Along with the charrette, which Rich mentioned, what a charrette is a 2-day workshop that we hold with as many of the stakeholders as we can gather for a project. And in those charrettes, we do a lot of homework, we do a lot of consensus building, and we try to end up with a project that everyone can be happy with when we come out. Along with programming, we did a survey for the site, geotechnical work on the site. We did some initial traffic, looking at traffic and parking at the site, photos, and so on. And during the charrette, we did a lot of concept designs. And in the first day, in overnight, and the second day we presented those to the town and to the stakeholders. From that, we were able to select the option you see in front of you. And I'll come around and talk to that option here in a minute. The program, as we talked about, for the park is essentially a youth athletic program with high school girls lacrosse. And that was our goal, to accommodate youth soccer, youth lacrosse, softball and baseball, and some adult softball use. With the limited land area of the park, there was a struggle to come up with, you couldn't really segregate the baseball from the softball, no matter what from the soccer. We're going to have an overlay no matter what we did. Now let me just jump around and talk about the plan itself, if I could. I'll come right around here so I'm facing the board as well as the audience. The park, just get everybody oriented to where we are on this map. This is Burnett Avenue here, and the community center building in front of behind the parking. Newark Way is over here, and the old Verizon building is up here at the corner where the streets come together. What I want to do quickly is go through numbers 1 through 8, which is our recommendations. When we got all done going through the process, what we found was that one oversized sheet of synthetic turf seemed to make the most sense. That sheet of synthetic would allow softball, baseball to occur in the corners facing in towards each other, much like they do now. But we would be able to overlay the fields such that we could get 2 fields rather than one overlay that you currently get. And that would allow the program use to be maximized. We also wanted to improve handicap access, and actually as the design goes forward, that'll be an ongoing goal. We have to make sure we have handicap access to the park features. The asphalt path system surrounding the fields and through the park wouldn't change a great deal. We may move it over here and there. We put some bends in it on the one side to give it a little more character, to pull it over closer to the community center and get that space a little more tied to that side of the park. One of the goals that isn't necessarily in phase 1, but in the future, is to activate this community center a little more, bringing the path over and getting over to the concession on the back side of the building, which is seldom used. It was one of the ways to do that. We would be reconstructing some retaining walls, which are old and ready to be replaced. We would be replacing the lighting, which is I think 82 it was put in, and that's at about the end of its life. The lighting is important in the future in order to meet the programming needs of the township and the athletic leagues. We would expand the parking as much as possible. Currently, if you take numbers for athletic use on a ball field, there's a bit of a parking deficit in the park. If, for example, there's 4 U8 games in soccer going on in the park and some other activities, you're short on spaces. There's currently 64 spaces. With the new fields, we won't be increasing the number of teams at the park at any given time from the peak that it has now, but we would probably be increasing the frequency of occurrences when you'd have 4 teams or 6 teams playing short-sided soccer in the park at one time. So we won't be increasing the deficit of parking. If the town can build out any of the additional parking, then be decreasing that parking deficit and improving the situation at the park. We recommend they do the Newark Way parking improvements before they do the additional parking improvements up here, just because we think we get more bang for the dollar down here by putting in new parking along here and at the same time really cleaning up that lower end of the park and making it an amenity, clean up out to the fences, put in new decorative fences beyond the parking, and really shine up that end of the park and the entrance from Newark Way. So that would be a distinct aesthetic improvement aside from the fields. Of course, everything budget driven. There may be phasing considerations to get all these things done. Ultimately, we would go from 64 spaces on the site to about 112, 118, depending on how many handicap spaces we end up with and so on. Right now, like I said, there's 64. Now, I just have a couple other things to touch on, and then I'll turn it over for questions. Keep this in my hand, so every time I turn my head, it won't go off. A couple of the goals and objectives and the balance. One of the goals was to increase recreational athletic utilization of the park without decreasing open space. And the final plan we came up with added about 15,000 square feet of field area from what is currently used as field area. And out of I believe it's around 8 acres, 15,000 feet being less than half an acre, didn't dramatically increase the active recreation area in size. Increased it very little, as a matter of fact. So from a balance point of view, felt that was important. As this project builds out in future phases or in one big phase, if that's the way it goes, we wanted to improve the aesthetic of the park. And we did a little bit of that with additional plantings around and by softening the path system where we could. By necessity, when you're putting a rectangular field in a park, your path going past is going to be a little bit straight. So we weren't able to get real, English garden with the park here, with all the active use going on.